just a quiet house where feelings learn to unfold themselves small, gradually, little by little. I was never struck. I was overlooked. And that absence became my inheritance. I learned the art of not needing. I learned how to swallow tears before they formed, how to read the temperature of a room, even before speaking. I became weather-wise. I became storm-aware. I became careful. I memorized everyone's hunger and misplaced mine. Because somewhere in my little body then, I decided if I speak or ask for less, maybe I'll be loved. Maybe someone will take notice of me. So I grew up with these bruises. I became capable. I became impressive. I became resilient. But inside, there was a room no one ever entered. Inside me, that room stayed locked. Cobwebs covered the door because no one opened. A room where there were toys untouched, where comfort never showed its head. A room where, as a child, I still sit, holding questions that are sensitive like glass. That room, I still sit there. And I'm asking questions like, why didn't anyone notice me? Why did I feel alone? Why is it that that loneliness was so huge, even when everyone was present? You know, neglect sometimes is not cruelty. Sometimes it's distraction. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to another beautiful, relaxing, and impactful Saturday. My name is Rosemary Henry Eze, and this is the Young Women and Wives with Burdens and Blessings discussion platform. Please, Mrs. Elizabeth, you need to send me invites on this live. I can only bring you on via invite. You need to send me invites on the live, ma. Thank you, ma. That is our speaker. Tonight is such a solemn night because we are looking at a very sensitive topic. Well, this year for us on the platform is actually a year where we are seeking for healing from everything that you can think of, most especially healing from childhood pain, trauma, and whatever it is that you can, name it. This is because a lot of things that are rearing their head in our lives as adults, most of them stem or are coming from our childhood experiences and childhood, the way we have lived our lives as children. And tonight is no different. We're looking at the long shadow of neglect, how, childhood neglect affects or how it shapes our adult life. That is what we're looking at this evening. I want to welcome everyone to tonight's discussion. Thank you so much, Ofunne. I love that your name so much. Welcome, sis. Welcome, Malabisu Rachel. Thank you to everyone joining us. Please, ma, our speaker, kindly send me an invite on this live, ma. Please send me an invite on this live. Our speaker is here with us, and I'll need to bring her on. But please, ma, for me to be able to bring you on camera, like I mentioned to you, please send me invite on this live. So, and most of the things that we really take for granted. This week, yesterday precisely, a sister shared on her Facebook page how we have made of no effect, you know, the lives that we live, and in the sense that she was trying to say discuss how we have made suffering a way of life as a people, how hardship, difficulty, challenges, and whatever it is has become a form of a tag, have become a form of pride for us, especially those of us who are coming from an African society. How, if we don't suffer, then you you have not really made it. And so the topic of tonight, is really centered around neglect, how neglect has really shaped the African child. Okay, ma, I'm not saying. Okay, ma. Okay, I think it has not. Facebook has not notified me. As soon as they notify me, I'll bring you on, ma. So how neglect? Please, ma. You need to. I hope you need to send it on my life, not on the initiative page. Please, ma. Come to my life, my personal page, ma. Yes, ma. Thank you. Oh, sorry. The typical African in me. So what is when we look at neglect? I'm not the professional here, so that's why we have our speaker. But there are so many things that I look back on, and as now as an adult, I actually now can trace those things as neglect. Um, I was, let me just say, I had the rare privilege of having my parents' marriage, pack up, let's put it that way, very early. So I and my siblings were had to go to several homes to either work as maids, or just live with them to be sent to school and all that. And in that particular instance, that particular action from my parent now is a major neglect, because they gave birth to me. Yeah, yes, ma. Please, you need to Olabisi, ma, please, ma, kindly show her how to send Facebook live invites, ma. Thank you. Okay, please, ma, Olabisi, please kindly, ma, show her how to send invite on Facebook live. Please, let me send her that personal direct message, please. Thank you. Okay, so I really found out that most of those things, had their impact in the way I live my life, because I found out that even as I grew as an adult, there are some the memories I remember, and then even as an adult, I cry. I cry. The pains and everything. And also very early on in my adult life, I started noticing that some of the things that I do were a reflection of my childhood. I was reacting, reacting from the things that happened to me from childhood. But I never knew that they were aftermath of neglect as a child. And another thing was that the way actually I actually deal with my children, it also affected it, because I said to myself, oh, I don't want to my children to suffer what I suffered. I don't want my children to go through what I went through as a child. And it kind of affected the way I do things with my children. And I was not able to discern what was actually what is the right way to parent, because everything I was doing were everything was based on my childhood pain and childhood trauma. So, and how has neglect, as neglect that we experience as children, especially I would say in African community, in our Nigerian community, how has it shaped our life, and even up to adulthood? How has it shaped our life? Please check. Okay, yes, please, our speaker, check the message from Olabisi Rachel, please, because I'm not able to bring you on except and if you send an invite. You need to send an invite for me to bring you on this live. Please check the message from Olabisi Rachel, please. Thank you. And this, it continues for a long time. And one thing that I noticed about this is that they never go away. They never leave you. They never, those things, those childhood experience never leave. They make, they have taken, rather they take a chunk of space in who you actually put out to the world, in you as a person, and how you relate and how you behave towards people. You know, one of the aspects of the neglect that also actually affected me was the aspect that I lived in practical fear. I lived in practical fear of I remember the early stage of my marriage. I lived in practical fear of my spouse leaving us because my father left us. I was always afraid. I don't want my children to be left alone the way my father left us, and my mom could not cope. So I've shared severally on my Facebook page how my childhood experience molded the woman I am today. How my childhood experience molded the woman I am today. And in as much as I really appreciate the fact that I'm able to stand and weather the storm and everything, there's still that child in me. The thing is that child in you never really actually matures beyond that state where that child became lost. That child never matured beyond that stage. I remember I was this week or so, I was talking to at work. I work in a school, and I was talking to the girls. I was talking to the girls. They are 8 years, 9-year-old. And then I told them, they were like, "Oh, Miss Rosemary, why are you doing this? Why are you doing this?" And I told them, I said, "Do you know that in me, aside the fact that I was once an 8-year-old, I was once a 9-year-old, in me, that's that room that the 8-year-old girl is stuck in, I still feel that. I feel some form of loneliness, and what would I have what would I have become? What would I how no that when you're like, you feel that vacuum of, oh, I didn't have the privilege to enjoy this because my parents were not there for me. So even at this age, I'm not seeing it. So I'm not. I don't know what's happening, but I'm not even seeing it at all. Okay, please. I don't know what's happening. I'm not seeing it. Usually comes with a red. I'm not seeing it. I'm only in this invite. I'm only seeing 2 people. I'm only seeing Olabisi Rachel and Ofunne. I don't know. Oh, Jesus. Okay. So, oh my God, what's happening now? I'm not. Please, ma, are you? I'm not seeing your request, ma. I'm not seeing the request. Olabisi, ma, please, can you? I'm not. There's no invite, ma. There's no invite popping up here. No invite at all. There's no invite popping up. I don't know what's happening. Probably it might not. Maybe you might not be doing it well. Olabisi, ma, please, can you give us step by step, not in a sentence, step by step, what she should do, please? Please give us step by step, not a sentence. Step by step, please. Thank you. Apologies, please. So I felt I started talking to the girls, and I was like, oh, there's just this aspect of me that you know, is experience, that still want to live that girl, that girl, that life. I know somebody will say, oh, why do you still want to go back to that age? Why do you still want to go back to that age? You are happy, you have lived well, you are happy, and blah blah blah. But do you know, the thing is that the human nature is so wonderful that it any stage miss, any stage that you miss. I'm not seeing notification, ma. I'm not seeing notification. That's the thing. Oh, wow. I don't know what's happening. I can see your message, but I'm not able to bring you on live. That's the thing. I'm not able to bring you on live. Jesus Christ. I'm not able to bring you on live. I can see your message, but it's not even showing that. It's not showing camera for me to bring you on live. I'm not able to. Oh gosh. Okay. Oh, just hold on. Let me see. It's not even. I'm not even seeing you, sef, on my life. I'm not seeing you at all. I'm not seeing her. It's so unfortunate. I'm not seeing you on the life. I don't know what's happening. I can see Olabisi Rachel with camera. I can see a lot of people on live here showing their camera, but I can't see you. I'm not even receiving any invite. Wow. 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 That's unfortunate. Really, really unfortunate. Uh Really, really unfortunate though. And it doesn't really happen like this before, so I don't know what is happening. Could it be because if there in Facebook too, if you are not constantly using your Facebook page, they kind of probably forget that you are their customer. Oh, ma, I'm not able to. Please, just a second, please. Apologies, please. So sorry, everyone. We're just trying to find solution to our guests joining us. Unfortunately, Facebook is not allowing her on. I think most times it's always because of, if you are not really a constant user, it will just have a wonderful this thing. And the topic for tonight, I'm not a professional to handle it. If I'm going to just be talking, I'm going to be speaking from experience. And let's hope that somewhere along the line our speaker is able to join us. If she's not, maybe we might have to reschedule this to sometime in the future. Okay. But like I was saying, I was there talking to the girls at school, and they were like, "Oh, Miss Rosemary, why are you doing this? Why?" And I said, within me still lies that 8-year-old girl. Within me also still like that 9-year-old girl that who thinks back on her experience as at that age, and memories came flooding in. I remember it was at that age, 8-9-year-old, that I went to someone's house to work as a maid. So, and I didn't leave until I was 16 years old. And I was fully formed by the time I left. Fully formed as in biologically, but I also left bruised. I left battered. I left, I left emotionally destroyed, let me put it that way. And I do say something that one of the things that has always been a push or a drive for me as a woman is the statement that oh yeah, it is, well, yes ma, is the statement that my guardian made when I had to leave her house. If I had to even leave her house, because I had to create scenario, let me put it that way. I had to create scenario that was funny, because I was living in that house, and I developed funny behaviors. Funny behaviors, yes. Funny behaviors. Before I came into the house, I was not preferring what they would call stealing. I was not preferring. But by the time I was 16, I was doing a lot of what you would call funny things. I was I became sort of hardened somewhere along the line. Hardened in the sense that from all the consistent beating that I had received over the years, beating no longer made sense to me. So that neglect that I felt my parents neglected me. They just dumped me with someone who did not show me love, who made it very obvious to me that I was not her child, that I was a maid, and then I should be treated as a maid. And I have shared many times on my personal Facebook page how I remember being stepped on or marched on and all everything. And so childhood neglect really shapes our adulthood. So it made me, like I said, the statement said, it made me became someone who wants to, and for a very long time as an adult, I wanted to prove a point. I wanted to prove it. I wanted to just show that I was not a failure. Because when I had to leave my guardian's house, that was September 1998. I will never forget. I left her house September 1998. And she said to me, when that's when she said, "Go, I will hear of you. Your parent that cannot take care of you." And I left her place battered and bruised. And it became a foundation for me to say, "Oh, I will never suffer. My children will never suffer." So everything that I do, I would rather face the challenges and the difficulty than for me to really fail. You understand what I'm saying now? But it made me live on edge. Apologies, our speaker is having challenges with her Facebook page, so she's not able to join us. Yeah, so one of the areas I said, neglect and mental health struggles. You know, like I struggled. I struggled in my early adult years with the pains and the pains of that of my childhood. I really struggled. I cried a lot. I cried a lot. There were times that I felt unloved. Let me put that way. I felt unloved. I felt that I did not deserve, anything good. Let me put it that way. Because I've had my guardian then tell me that my parents, if I was that needed, or if I was that important, my parents wouldn't have dumped me at her place or left us and we were all scattered. The verbal abuse was very huge. So for me, even though then I didn't know what mental health was, but I struggled, with mental health and that in relation to neglect up to my 30s. Up to my 30s. So, and the thing is that when I started having children, I didn't know when I started living in my childhood life through my children. Yes, I started living my childhood life through my children. I know how I would give my children things that I desired at their age. How I will give my children access. I will do so many things. It made me. I began to the things that I desired, that I wanted at that age. At their ages, for every age, I gave to my children. But I was struggling. I was still a child in an adult body. I was still that 8-year-old, that 9-year-old that went into that home, as a maid. Even in my early 30s. I was struggling. So even though I already had, 2 children in my 20s, I struggled. My battered childhood was a major, trailed me, was a major thing in my life. I longed for that joy. I longed to have that 8-year-old girl, 9-year-old girl happy. I longed to have her happy. It was exact. I always like, sometimes it was as if I always hear her cry in me. I always hear her cry. I always felt her pain. That was when I realized that, I was me as a young girl, Rosemary, the young girl, was still living. And all because, my parents, neglected me. And then another said that and then I didn't have the privilege to have access to some things. You understand now? So another aspect of neglect is that for someone like me who had such childhood exposure. You understand now? So I started, trying to make up for it, like I said, towards my children. So my everything was okay for my children to have. Everything was okay. Oh my God. It's unfortunate. It's really painful. It's really painful. I'm not seeing the invite at all. I'm not seeing the invite at all. There's no invite being sent. Still not working. It's not working, ma. Not working. So sorry. Wow. So unfortunately, our speaker is having technical issues. So I am sharing based on my own personal experience as a child and how neglect, neglect, trickled into my adult life. I know this night we're talking about, the shadows of neglect and how it's actually what shapes our adult life. So, even up to tomorrow, you will see me. I'm so at home with children. And when I say I'm so at home with children, I mean that when I'm with children, I'm actually a child. And because I just I leave myself to be a child because I want to, I'm trying to, like, let's say, make up for that. So childhood neglect actually trickles down through a lot of these things. And then now you now start seeing parents who suffer from such neglect not being able to control or monitor what our children should have. So we kind of fall into a parenting style that is not healthy for our children. So we are not neglecting our children per se, but we are somehow exposing them, not giving them that access to be children, but whether we are preoccupying ourselves, especially with preoccupying ourselves with activities and so many things, and then opening them up to other medium of parenting. For example, back home you will see people always, say, oh, you are going to lesson. A child will leave home 7 a.m. in the morning or 6:30 for some children, and then 5 p.m. they are not back because we as parents, we just want to keep them occupied because we have to go work. So you have a situation whereby you have where you start in this digital time now. A lot of our children are exposed to. I also speak from my own shortcomings as a parent, which I'm now seeing some, the back end of it, or rather the byproduct of it. And that is because I did not know otherwise. I did not know better. I felt that I wanted to not let my children go through what I went through by feeling deprived and all that, and actually make provision for them. But now exposing them now to things that are not wholesome. So unconsciously, neglect has taken a different form and a different shape in this our time, where children are being preoccupied with social media. They're occupied with internet use and all that. And then another thing says, I said the rise of emotionally self. I'm not speaking as a professional, because I'm not a professional. I'm just speaking from the fact that some of these things, have you, the rise he said the rise of emotionally self-reliant children. you know I believe that I had to, I spoke earlier about how this I kind of became an adult way too young. So even as became an adult before I was 10, in terms of self-reliance emotionally and otherwise, because I was practically parenting myself. I parented myself. I tell people that, see, Rosemary parented myself. I parented myself, because I was one that was not telling myself what to do, what not to do, choices to make and choices not to make. You understand what I'm saying now? And I became self-reliant. But that also had its own side effects. It also had its own side effect, because I became too independent to listen to people. Yeah, I became too independent to listen to counsel. And which actually affected me, majorly in my early 20s, late 20s and early 30s. I became too independent now, and that is what we are also doing as parents, consciously or unconsciously, because we have now structured parenting differently. One thing that I have observed is that, see, having that personal time, physical presence, time and intentionally building and pouring into your children can never go out of fashion. Let me put it, can never go, nothing can ever replace it. Nothing can ever replace it. Social media cannot replace it. Phone cannot replace it. I am thousands of miles away from my children as we speak. And and sometimes I will just say to myself, I say, oh, if I did not take some actions, in some things that I actually taught them, it was as if I had prepared them for the situation we are in presently. But one thing I also observe is that even though you teach your children and you introduce them to some ways of life, there needs to be, like as professionals, we do what we call refresher course. There needs to be an avenue or continuous and intentional refresher course in grooming, in training for your children, especially as they go through in life. Because the thing you teach your child as a child below the age of 10 is still the same information, but the way you will now teach it for a child of 15 is different, because that information for age of below 10 is the same information. However, the child who is 15, you understand now, has different exposure and may even tell you that the information is not, does no longer have repercussion because it has been tested and proven and they have found a way to work around it. But you have to help this child grow by continuous support, continuous teaching and everything. So if when children become emotionally reliant, I'm not a professional, it has its advantage because they can stand and be themselves. However, like I mentioned, sometimes it makes them too self-reliant for their own good. Yes, it makes them too self-reliant, even especially emotionally, for their own good. Because we continue to learn and we continue to learn, and we don't stop learning. But when a child has been left alone to grow by themselves, when a child is left alone to grow, and the child is the one that was able to define what wrong is, define their path and everything, that in as much as that has its own good side, it is too much of a load or burden to put on a child. So if a child decides successfully or otherwise is able to define their path and then become set in their own ways, emotionally, that child will not be able to listen to counsel. So, and for us as adults, I know that we can, if we're really given the opportunity to share, we can really share our own experience. Please, like I said, unfortunately, we are not able to bring our speaker on because of Facebook technical issues from her end. But please, and I'm not speaking tonight as a professional. I'm not a professional in the area of neglect, childhood neglect, but I am speaking from my personal experience when it comes to neglect and how it trickles down to my adulthood, and how in my early adulthood and even up to my early 30s, I really battled with the after or byproduct of neglect. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. So I really battled with that, and I okay, something is currently happening to me. I told you, I said I didn't really understand how to parent. So I was now, what I was doing as a parent to my children was to do the opposite of what I experienced. To do the opposite of what I experienced. So I made sure that, and the things that I wanted at my age, the age that they were in, I was always making available. The life I wanted as a child, I made sure my children always had it and everything. But somewhere along the line, I also, it's kind of became erroneous in its implementation, sort of, or in the way the children handle it, because they are not me. I forgot that even though they are my children, they are human beings on their own, and they have their own mind, and they have their own thoughts. And if me applying my own what I would have wanted, or what I want as a person to train them, would not actually work effectively with them. So like currently now, my first son had to leave home to go to school, and a lot of things I said to myself, some things are happening. I'm like, oh my God. Even though I had talked and talked, I said, I'm actually an enabler to some of the things that this boy is doing, because I never gave room for him to go through learning process. I was always there covering up. Oh, not let this thing that happened to me not happen to them. You understand what I'm saying now? So neglect actually shaped me into someone who, another thing, I was always defensive. I became defensive. I became someone who would just flare up at anything that you do that reminds me of what I used to experience. One of such is that I one of such is that as a child who was living with my guardian, I had a lot of beating, cane, being flogged. I had a lot of I was flogged most of the time. I thought I went there at age 9 and left at age 16. So there were marks and there were bruises of this cane on my body. There were so many things that that pain being inflicted through that medium. And as an adult, I began to respond to any behavior that my children, let me put it that way, ill behavior that my children behaved. I respond, but that's just the only way I understood to respond to such, because that was the way I was treated. That was the message. That was the training. That was the upbringing I was given. I never actually understood that, I all those things became, part of me, because my parent neglected their responsibility towards me. And so this person does not, somehow does not hold that connection to me. So all she knows is that I came to her house to work as a maid. So that was what I actually received. And that's, formed me and affected me even up to my adult life. So neglect as neglect for a child, is a seed. Is a seed. Once it is sown, it grows. And it grows with you as into your adulthood. So most of us, when we check, go back and check some things, some things that the behaviors that you display now. Go back and check. Go back, have a seat, have a reflection. Go back to your childhood and see where this particular seed was sown. And then it said neglect and identity confusion. Wow. I believe that some of the things I observed in terms of neglect and identity confusion is that for children who one of the parents left them, and you find out that the children don't become confused. They become confused as to whether or if it is daddy that left. This man, is and he's a boy, and the child happens to be a boy. Is this thing, this man left. What happened? Why did he leave? Oh, do I want to be am I actually am I okay with my gender? Am I okay with who I am? Am I okay with who I am? You understand what I'm saying now? So most often than not, I don't want to like go into sexual orientation, because I don't have the professional training to talk extensively on it. But sometimes I believe that most times neglect has a major part to play in in the issue of gender, or these issues and all that. I believe it has to. It has, because you find out that yearning, that parent that left, children unconsciously take responsibility for the parents that left them. Yes. I was sharing with a friend, and I said my father left us for 17 years, and he came back after 17 years. And the way we ran to meet my father, the way we ran to meet him, the way we were so welcoming, even with all the things that he did to us and did to our mother, the way we ran to meet him showed that we felt empty. Showed that we felt empty, that his presence was left a vacuum in us. It left a vacuum in us. And that vacuum, even though he came, we were not interested in knowing whether he came with genuine intention. But just seeing him come back alone, we did not think of any other thing that he has done, any evil atrocity that he has done. Just seeing him come back alone was more like a yearning that we all we ran after, we ran into. Now another point is, oh my God, I just wish that our speaker was able to come online today. He said another point was neglect and the normalization of loneliness. And the normalization of loneliness. As I am, you understand, I tell people, I say I enjoy my company. I enjoy the company of myself. Now something happened some time back where I am presently, and I here you except maybe you have a prior arrangement with friends. Maybe you have a prior arrangement with friends that you now say, okay, you are going out, you are doing this and all that. But I have always been a people person. I don't mind. I like to, not that I'm seeking validation. No, I just love to be in the midst of people. I love to be with people. I understood that people have shortcomings. So most times I don't really bother with some shortcomings. I just learn to guide and guard myself. But now we're talking about neglect stemming from producing normalization of loneliness. People become weary of other people. They become so weary. They don't want. They don't say, like I said. I said to myself, I love the company of myself. I don't want to associate with anybody. But really, we were not created to live alone. We were not created as human to live alone. I was telling someone the other day. I said, see, even here coming to this place where I am, coming to Canada here, you understand now. The first house I got in my province, that house I got it before coming from Nigeria, and that house is a 2-bedroom, and I got it from a lady who had a son, and I just noticed that when she comes back, she does that. She goes into her room with her son. She goes into a room with her son. So I said to myself, I cannot stay here like this. So that now winter is coming. I don't even know how this winter. This is me that I like to gist. in our Nigerian language. I like to, talk and everything, because there is life in people. There's life in people, exchange of this thing. So I stayed for 1 month. Thank God, thank goodness, rent here is monthly. So I stayed for 1 month. After that 1 month, do you know what I did? Even though seeing that the thing was so expensive, I called her. And I said, please, I cannot continue to stay. I said, oh, because of rent. But the major reason that I could not say is that is an apartment building. So there's nobody to go and knock on to say, let's come and talk, let's come and do this. No. So neglect will make you normalize loneliness. You will think being alone or lonely, being alone, on your own is a healthy thing, but it is not. It is not. I do tell people something. I say it in PG. I say, now human being, they offend human being. No be animal go offend you. And I do tell my people who know me or my friends, I say, see, if a dog bites you, excuse me, if a dog bites you, there's nothing you can do to that dog. All you will do is that you go and treat yourself. But that you are able to react to a human being because you know that you people are of the same intellectual capacity and capability and everything. So, and I said, if a dog can bite you, a dog that can give you disease, and you are able to, or ignore, how much more, why not? And I said, why not learn to live with human being? Now, where I live in in a space with other people, and I tell people, I told them, I said, see, we will quarrel, we will fight, forget that one. But see, we will quarrel. For quarrel, I say, I will see next, I will call you. If you like keep malice, I will tell you, I don't keep malice. So because that childhood this thing there have made a lot of people, turned a lot of people into lonely adults. They are that neglect. Some people have actually been formed in such a way that they can live by themselves, or their parents, they can live and they can do this. I remember when my children was coming up and everything. So it got to a time, I think when my first son was 7, if I want to quickly rush to the market or anything, I would just lock them inside, something like that. That you cannot do it here. You cannot do it in Canada here. Now prison to say you're going to go prison. You understand? I would just let them quickly go and come back and all that. But for me as an adult, growing in that house that I grew in, as a maid from age 9 to 16, I became the only friend that I have. It was the only opportunity at which I would try to maximize is when I go to school. I was going to a very good school, Methodist Grammar School, Bodija, Ibadan. And I was going to a very good school. It's at least one of the best government school there. And I will play all the play. I will do everything. And before I would get it. One funny, because as at that age, I was already fully formed, and I was not wearing bra. In fact, my first brazier was bought for me by my classmate. I don't know where she is now. Ayola. Was bought for me by class. So, and then the shoe, because the shoe that my guardian will buy, she will buy one left. In Ibadan, there's a place where inside Bodija market where they used to sell this defective shoes. She will buy one leg, it will be the same 39 or 39-40. One will be dark brown, one will be light brown. Now that type. Apologies, I'm speaking pitch with you. You understand what I'm saying now? And then, it took me a long time with all this that I went to. It took me a long time to, another thing is that it took me a long time to forgive my father. Yes, for me, it took me a long time to forgive my father. In fact, my father was already, I finally forgave my father. When did I think 2019? He was dead though. Even though he was dead, I still had this, it took me, that was when I became a parent, and I started living and everything, and I started seeing the reality of parenting. Okay, ma. Sorry. No problem, ma. You can just no problem, man, no problem. You can just send, maybe if it's a write-up or something, and send it, and we'll post it on the page. But I just hope that my personal this that I'm sharing is is in line, is making sense. That's what I just think that it's making sense. You understand? So, but that neglect was there. So as young parent now, see, don't cover for physical presence, time, that special time with your children. Don't replace it with social media. Don't replace it with laptop or tablet or whatever. Don't don't I know it is not easy, especially for those of us who are who are working class. I know it's not easy. Let me say something. Back when my children were still young, when I was were still young, I was I had to take up teaching. I was teaching and earning. I was earning little change, because I said I want to, at least for the boys. I know that I was at home for the boys well. I think it was my daughter, as she's clocked 10 months or so, that I went into the workforce fully. That I went into the workforce fully. But even with my daughter, I want to say that I didn't know how to. I didn't know how to treat or train a girl, because I just knew within me that I didn't want the hard girl that I had become, or hard woman that I become. I just didn't know that. No, I just knew within me that I didn't want my girl to be hard. I want her to be tender. I want her to be girly. But I didn't know how to, to teach her to be tender or soft. I didn't know. It was so easy with me and the boys. It was so easy for me with the boys, because that is what they say. But with the girl, I didn't know how to. So I had to consciously, learn it. So what I would do, I was saying, was to consciously evolve some girly, try to search for some girly traits or girly habits or girly things to do. And one of the things that I remember doing was I started creating time. I would tell her, oh, let's girl time. So the brothers will not be there, the father, nobody will be there, and we'll just go separate to the place, and then we'll lie down, we'll just be gisting. I'll just like, tell me something, talk to me. You understand now? So, and that has, that helped. That helped my daughter. That helped even my boys. That helped them. That now they can, we talk freely. Even though I'm thousands of miles away, we're able to talk freely. I just don't want to take up time. Okay, the time is almost fast spent. Okay, you understand what I'm saying now? And then, so that now, neglect will make you normalize loneliness, because you have been neglected as a child for so long. You have been made to grow, into an adult overnight as a child. You became emotionally self-reliant so early that you do not just know what to do. You do not just know what to do. You have no choice but to become this thing. Then so with time you become this thing. I know, even though living in Canada, in an environment like Canada, it's can be, sometimes stay on your own. You can stay on your own. Sometimes I stay, anytime we have snowstorm, I don't even go out to even know what is happening outside. That is how the extent to which childhood neglect has built me into someone who now loves myself, my own space. It has its advantage, but it is sometimes it can be choking. I will not lie to you. Sometimes it can be choking. So I have a couple that are my friends. So what I do to them, maybe after service or Sunday or something, like, they go in the house today. Sometimes I'm going to your house. I'm going to your house. I'll tell them, well, yeah, bring me. I'll tell the wife, cook. You are the best cook. Bring. They don't. I can't really tell them everything, but I'm trying to like heal heal myself from the byproduct of what neglect did to me as a child. Ma, I'm not able to send you request. So it's not. I'm not even seeing you on my request list. That's the thing. I'm not seeing you on my request list. I don't know what is happening. I'm not seeing you on my request list. Don't agent. I'm not seeing you on my request list. That's the thing that is disturbing. Try check my if you can see anything. Check my if you can see anything. Are you seeing any invites? Are you seeing any invite, ma? Okay, if you can see, if you I try to send an invite again. Please see if you can see. I don't know. If you can see, please accept and come on. Oh. Okay, in fact, we have spent 1 hour, and I know that I may not have done justice to the topic because really a professional would have done better. But one thing I just want us to know this is that, see, this year as an initiative, we are on a journey of wholeness and healing. It is healing, no. So we're actually holding on to topics, going to be talking on topics that are centers on healing in every aspect, both emotionally, psychologically, professionally. I'm looking forward to, by God's grace, I'm looking forward to, you didn't see it. Oh, and I sent it. Oh, that's what, in fact, it's still showing that it's sent now. Hey, yeah. I don't know what's happening. Oh. Ma, you may need to go and be using your Facebook. Oh. Facebook is very funny. Okay, so you understand. And, we're on the journey of healing. And since this discussion platform started, I tell the admin of the initiative, I said, for years, I was, as a Christian church girl now, I was praying, always praying. But like, I prayed about I prayed and I pray about every pain. Because it's not that you want to feel those pain, but those pain. Oh, well, I don't know what's happening. I sent you this in. I sent you invite. It's showing that I've sent it. I don't know what's happening. Wow, it's unfortunate. And we're about to round up. Okay, she said you should read her comments. Olabisi Rachel said read her comments. Go ahead and read Olabisi's comment, please. Thank you. You understand? I just didn't know why I was feeling that pain. I was feeling that pain. And, it just showed that I am still human. There's no vacuum. You see, there's no vacuum. Life does not leave vacuum. However, we are not expected to die with those pain because there is answer for every. We're supposed to die whole. People say we are supposed to die empty when it comes to your gifting. We're supposed to die whole. We're not supposed to die bitter. We're not supposed to die with baggages. We're supposed to die whole. So that on our deathbed, you breathe. It's not that you understand? You're supposed to die. So this year, 2026, on the initiative, is a year where we are healed, where we are made whole. And every topic that we are discussing on this platform is centered towards wholeness. And one thing I just want to say is that, yes, childhood neglect has caused a lot of things. And I said, some people may not even know that whatever it is that they are displaying as adults is as a result of childhood neglect. They may not know. But there's one thing I want to say. Just like this year on the initiative is for healing, you have to be intentional to relearn healing. You have to be intentional to relearn healing and care for yourself. Yes. See, there are some things that I do, as an express, and I do, and I ask myself, and I would have done that. I ask myself, anyway, that's my native name. Oh my God, why did I do this? Why did I do this? So what I found out is that it cannot be solved by just me regretting or wishing. It has to be an intentional journey towards getting getting that healing. It has to be. It has to. It has to be, that it has to be an intentional. Well, I've sent it, man. Just I think that's the same way yours didn't come to me, mine didn't go to you. Wow. I think Facebook is for anybody who is not actively using their this thing. I don't know, because why we are still doing this on my platform is because we can't do live on our initiative page yet, because there are requirements that we are supposed to meet, and we have not met it. So Facebook will not allow us to do live on our initiative page. So Facebook and they have most of their this thing. So it's so unfortunate, man. It's so unfortunate. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry for this. Most times one of the things that we even do as an initiative is to follow up with our speakers and ask them if they're active on Facebook. And I don't know what is happening this night. Facebook does not really tell you when they are putting some policies or this in place. It's unfortunate. Okay, so we have to relearn healing now. So when the shadow of the childhood neglect that you experience, is seen in your life, you don't allow the shadow to continue. One thing is that, how do you get rid of shadow? How do you get rid of a shadow? You turn light on. So shadow exists in a lightly dimmed dark space. You understand? And even when the light that is sufficient is available, the shadows in your life will no longer have impact much, or let me just much of impact in your life. But just know one thing, that some of the things that you might be doing, some of your reactions, your this thing, they may stem, let me put it that way, they will stem from your childhood, from childhood neglect, from the pains of childhood neglect. It's been an amazing and a very awesome an hour 10 minutes on this program, and we're so sorry that due to Facebook technicalities, our speaker could not join us this night, and I just had to speak from personal insight on the topic. Now next week, Saturday, which will be the first Saturday in March, that is March the 7th, of Saturday 7th of March, we will preceding 8th of March. 8th of March is International Women's Day, Y.W.W.B celebration annually globally. So 7th of March, in commemoration of International Women's Day for 2026, we are going to be having a wellness advocate in the person of Jasonic Moss, who is she works with the Women Institute in PEI Canada, here where I am, and she's an amazing person, and she's going to be we're going to be looking at the topic, give to gain. Who heals the woman who gives? Healing the woman who gives. One of the cries that I had to cry for so many years, even as a church girl, as a church woman, is, see, why is everybody demanding from me? Who gives me? Please join us next week Saturday on this platform as we look at that topic extensively. And please remember that this year 2026, your wholeness is at the top of what the Y.W.W.B initiative, the Young Women and Wives with Bodies and Blessings initiative, is for. Oh, and good news in the house. We'll be having our first medical outreach in Lagos, Nigeria, come April 2026. Wow, that's our maiden medical outreach. Stay tuned. Bye.